Stay with me if you can. Research shows that the average person is distracted every 40 seconds by something happening. So if you are able to make it through this presentation, I expect you will be present about 50% of the time, according to studies. So what we're talking about today is how to actually increase your brain power so you can be more present with what you're working on, your focus, your attention, and lessen the distraction of your brain scurrying all over the place. So the method we're using for this is traditionally called meditation. I call it mindfulness, but what it truly is just brain strengthening. And the reason this is so important is for those of us who do what they call knowledge work, which is basically work that doesn't involve making more things or doing things faster, like you would typically maybe someone on a production line or putting together components. Knowledge workers are people who have to use creativity, they have to use intelligence, they have to use focus, problem solving to create strategic solutions. So for problem solvers, if you are spending all of your time getting distracted and having your brain all over the place, you might be working harder and longer and not creating as efficient results. So if we can strengthen your mind, you can increase your productivity. So today's training is going to be how to increase your productivity using a mindfulness technique that will literally grow your brain, increase your neurons firing so that you can get more done in less time and feel more excited and enthusiastic about it. All right, I'm going to share some screens with you. There we go. All right, so the three benefits of using this mindfulness technique are: one, more focused attention. If every time you get distracted, if you're actually following that distraction, clicking the link, those distractions, you can be off in the woods for up to 30 minutes following these different distractions before you get dialed in back into your work. And so the more you can train your brain, the less appealing these distractions are and the less time you'll spend away from your work. Secondly, you'll have a larger working memory. Your memory will actually be better. You'll have more strategic solutions. When someone in a meeting asks, hey, does anyone have any ideas? You're not going to be the one sitting there like, oh, I don't know. You'll probably have more creative solutions. And so you're just going to have more access to the fun parts of your brain. And thirdly, you will have a less stimulated mind. This mindfulness technique will actually make it so that your need for those quick dopamine hits lessens and lessens. You become less addicted to distraction. So if you're someone who, when your phone beeps, you always have to jump away, or every time it rings, you get distracted, or if you hear a sound outside, when your mind is less stimulated, you actually don't need those things. You don't need to be going out every night for those quick hits. You're happier at a lower level of stimulation, which makes it so that you can work longer and harder, and every little excuse to jump up from your desk becomes less appealing. All right. So of course, there's tons of other benefits to mindfulness, meditation, brain growth. And one of the huge ones, I think, is improved focus and memory. It does actually slow down your aging. You can see a lot of different things on this list. My biggest benefit, though, is your highs are always just as high when you meditate. When you're excited, it's that huge, full, fun feeling, but your lows are nowhere near as low. So the doldrums, the bad things in life that might have stressed you out before, they're not really going to affect you as much. So many different benefits to this, and it really doesn't take much time. The prefrontal cortex is what we're targeting with these exercises. There are many different parts of your brain that are in charge of different functions, but the prefrontal cortex is really the part of our brain that makes us human. It's where we can take all of the emotions, all of the triggers, all of the thoughts, and this is where they come together so that we can create long-term outcomes. We can create strategies. This is where our creativity comes into play. Science has actually proven through brain scans that people who use this meditation technique, they actually had a larger prefrontal cortex than when they first started. It increases the amount of gray matter in this thinking part of your brain. Not only that, but the amount of blood activity and neural activity also increases, not just during the mindfulness activities, but all throughout the day. So you have a larger, stronger, faster, evolved part of your brain. The benefits of this, they say, can be seen within anywhere between 10 and 30 minutes of mindfulness a day. So underneath 10 to 30 minutes, you don't get these same benefits, but once you work your practice up to working at least 10 to 30 minutes a day, that's really when you start to see these benefits. And they became pretty apparent to me, honestly, within about 4 weeks, and it's been just growing since then. So let's talk first about the practicalities of how to do this brain strengthening technique. I suggest to do it in a seated position. on a solid surface. I used to do it lying down or maybe slumped on a couch. And honestly, I would get super sleepy and comfortable, and sometimes I would just fall asleep. So I would encourage you to do it in an active seated pose. Look for a firm surface. I actually bought what they call a zafu, a meditation cushion. It's a slight cushion on a softer cushion. It elevates your hips so your legs can cross naturally. You just bring your hands down to your sides, drop your chin slightly, tip your pelvis forward, kind of a neutral spine, and just sit, relax like this. We want to make sure that as much as possible, you've turned off your phones, you're in a quiet room, and just in a really comfortable position. The technique for this, there are lots of different techniques for meditation, but the specific technique to grow this part of your brain, I recommend what we call the noting technique. And it's very, very simple. Anyone can do it. The easiest way to start, I would say start with 5 minutes. And I just use a timer on my phone. I use an app called the Insight app. It has a start and an end timer for however long I want to use it. There's also apps, Headspace, Calm, some other good apps you can use, but go ahead and set a timer and then just sit quietly and focus on your breath. Or focus, if you're me, I like to actually focus on my heartbeat. Sometimes if I focus on my breath, I overthink it and it gets weird. So I just focus literally on the beating of my heart. So something that's constant and stable. Then you know what's going to happen? Your mind will wander off. It happens to everyone. It doesn't mean you're bad at this. When your mind wanders off, as soon as you notice it, you pause and identify what was the thought that made it wander off. And then just label it. It was an emotion, it was a feeling, it was a to-do. So you note it, you just note it, and it creates a space between what happened and how you noticed it. And then you let it go. Just let it go and go back to your breath. And guess what? Another thought's going to come in. It might take you a minute or two to even recognize that your thoughts wandered off. That's okay. Whenever you do notice it and you come back to that, you note it and you let it go. And you spend the 5 minutes just noting what thoughts are coming in and releasing them. This is the entire technique. And it basically trains your brain to get better and better at noticing when a thought comes, paying attention to the fact that it arrived, and letting it go. This simple technique is incredibly helpful for when you're in the real world and these thoughts and distractions come in. Your brain gets better and better at just noticing the thought and letting it go. This is why this technique is so powerful. And then as you go further into your practice with this, I would suggest try building up the time. Once 5 minutes seems a little bit easier to you, build up to 10 minutes. If 10 minutes is feeling good, build up to 15. After 30 minutes of mindfulness practice, science has shown there's really not additional benefit, but up to 30 minutes of mindfulness practice a day has really profound benefits on your mind. So how can we really make this habit stick? Anything that you want to do, my suggestion is do it daily. Your brain honors commitment, your brain honors repetition. It gets so much easier to do something if it's just a consistent part of your day. So from Atomic Habits, we learned that there are 4 different things to look for to really instill habits, make them obvious, easy, attractive, and satisfying. So my method for making this obvious is right in the middle of my family room, I have my meditation cushion out. I see it right there. It's just this pretty little thing. I only sit on it for meditation. And I work it right in after my breakfast. So it's very obvious that right after my breakfast, I look over, it's right there. It's next to where I drink my morning tea. The app that I use for this is the first thing that I'm going to open up my phone. It's right there. It's at the same time of day. So it's very obvious. It's easy. I started literally with just 2 minutes for me because I wanted to go every day. And I know I can do anything for 2 minutes. It's easy for me to focus on my breath or my heartbeat. That's nothing complicated about that. I'm not doing some fancy technique. And I definitely love to use these timers and apps that do all the work for me. It's attractive. I actually invested some good money in a really lovely meditation cushion. It's a pretty color. It's really comfortable. I listen to soothing water sounds while I do this. I'm in a corner of my house that's really beautiful to me. And it is definitely satisfying. After my practice, I know that my work for the next few hours is going to be focused. It's going to be positive. My brain feels very relaxed and happy. I'm proud of myself for doing the thing that I set out to do. And I've shared this with other people, and I've helped other people also start meditating. So that's how I've made it, these 4 things. So think about how you can implement these 4 strategies. So the biggest thing with any new habit is literally just to pick an amount that makes sense for you. If 2 minutes sounds overwhelming, do you think you could do 1 minute? If 1 minute sounds overwhelming, do you think you'd do 30 minutes? There's no wrong way to start training your brain with this. But what you'll see is when you start meditating and you start growing this prefrontal cortex of your brain, studies have shown that you become 30% more productive. That means you are spending less time doing more things. Wouldn't you like to have more time to do the things you love? Wouldn't you love to be more effective in the time that you are setting aside for work? So I really encourage you, if you feel like you would like more focus in your day, more clarity, more time to spend doing things that you love, work this practice in. It's really incredible for mindfulness. Also, go ahead and print out the worksheet that accompanies this lesson. It's going to help you identify the reasons you would like to become more focused, more productive, because if you don't have a reason, you're not going to do it. But if you have a reason, you get really clear on that reason and you can move into that. It's going to help you identify how to make the practice obvious, attractive, easy, and satisfying. And then also lead you through, make sure that you've done a mindfulness technique and take notes of how you felt before, after, during. I hope this has been helpful for you. My name is Sarah Starr. I offer private and group coaching for healthy habit implementation, nutrition, alcohol, mindset, all of these different things. If you need personal coaching and accountability, I would love to help you with this. I hope this was helpful and have a lovely day.